chain smoke and I say fuck a lot. But I accept myself for the way I am. I accept you too. Viewer discretion advised.
President Biden called attention to a treatment for COVID-19 that has not gained a lot of traction just yet. In his presidential address, he said healthcare facilities should focus on monoclonal antibody treatments because he says they're working.
One of the tools that we have to take care of patients with COVID-19 are monoclonal antibodies.
A small family health clinic an hour southwest of Atlanta was one of the first independent healthcare facilities to start giving the treatment this winter. The husband and wife who run the clinic say they come in every morning to people lined up around the building, desperate for the treatment.
It's joy. They cry. They feel desperate and helpless, and we stay open all night long till 4 o'clock in the morning treating them.
Sounds more like they're talking about a methadone clinic.
Monoclonal antibodies are used for patients who test positive for COVID-19, have symptoms, but are not ill enough to be hospitalized.
Monoclonal antibodies have been used to prevent hospitalizations after someone tests positive, but now the same medication is being used to keep people from getting sick in the first place.
You had vaccinated and unvaccinated people here showing up today. The unvaccinated people, some of them saying they wish they would have just got the shot to begin with and avoided this altogether. This woman, who asked us to hide her identity, admits she didn't trust the vaccine and didn't get it.
I just didn't want to introduce it to my body, not knowing, because it's on the emergency purposes, and I think they need to do a little more study on it.
Then she was exposed to COVID at work, and now is relying on another brand new therapy, Regeneron's monoclonal antibodies, approved by the FDA under an emergency use authorization, just like the vaccine she didn't want.
They can be given as an injection under the skin or as an infusion into the vein. When we give patients with COVID-19 monoclonal antibodies, it reduces the chance that they will need to be hospitalized or receive further medical care.
It is for high-risk patients 12 years old and up who have had close contact with someone who is infected.
Monoclonal antibodies are proteins that are made in a laboratory that mimic the patient's own immune system.
We can target an antibody in a lab genetically that does not affect your DNA, but targets the virus's DNA in an area called the spike protein where its genetic material is located.
Normally, the coronavirus uses markers on its surface to attach to and get inside your cells. Monoclonal antibodies can bind to these markers to block the virus from attaching to your cells. This will prevent the virus from entering and harming your cells.
The whole process can take an hour or more and involves an IV or 4 shots into the body.
Monoclonal antibodies have been used since around 1986 for things like cancer.
Mutated cells that start growing out of control can be deadly. But the body's immune system isn't defenseless. Meet the CTL. It's a type of white blood cell that can detect infected or mutated cells. And when it finds one, it secretes toxic molecules that initiate a self-destruct sequence. But the CTLs do sometimes need to be reined in. If they get over-enthusiastic, the immune system can start causing collateral damage, attacking healthy cells. Fortunately, the CTLs can be turned off by activating a molecule called PD-1. The trouble with having an off switch is that cancer cells can exploit it. Many cancer cells protect themselves with a counter receptor called PD-L1. This is where monoclonal antibodies come in. Scientists can use one of 2 types. One that binds the PD-1 molecule, or another that goes for PD-L1. Thanks to the monoclonal antibodies, all of the CTLs are fully activated and can blast away the cancer. This is just one way that monoclonal antibodies can be used.
As with any medicine, there is a chance of side effects. Monoclonal antibodies can cause allergic reactions and symptoms such as fever, chills, nausea, headache, wheezing, throat irritation, rash, itch, and dizziness. But don't worry. We will monitor you for any side effects.
Do you think those are the only side effects?
There's a chance that monoclonal antibodies can help people who have COVID-19 feel better.
Now that we have that out of the way, do you remember famed AIDS researcher David Ho.
We welcome Dr. David Ho, who is the founding scientific director of the Aaron Diamond AIDS Research Center and professor of medicine at Columbia.
It's telling and perfectly symbolic that when AIDS researcher David Ho's face appeared on the cover of Time as Man of the Year, 1996, you couldn't see his eyes. Instead, a colorful swirl meant to represent HIV filled his glasses. George Orwell used precisely this image: a man whose eyes are gone, whose glasses have been filled with the refracting light of his ideology, to convey the triumph of policies over truth in his famous essay, Politics and the English Language.
By the way, Celia Farber's book, Serious Adverse Events, An Uncensored History of AIDS, was released today, March 23rd, 2023. And I helped, so I had to share it.
Gallo lost the rights to the test. This was published in Newsweek in '94. And the American government let him fall like a hot potato. And already the industry built up a new man. This was David Ho here from New York, and he came up with a completely new model of the virus, saying now we have not a slow virus, but we have a virus à grande vitesse, at high speed. And he was using Kermali's PCR technique, which is a multiplication technique, not a quantification technique, by the way, and multiplying molecules into its millions and equal those molecules with the virus, right? Absolutely ridiculous. Even more, as those sequences he's going to multiply and equal them with the virus, that's the viral load, are present in everybody.
And when you measure the blood of an infected person, you see the amount of virus, what we call viral load, is very steady over time.
Viral load, they measure small fragments of RNA, and these are body's own cellular debris in this normal cell turnover. Every day 1 billion cells. But you don't detect in this technology a virus. That's not possible.
Some people think the worst of the AIDS crisis is behind us, but there were over 2 million new infections worldwide this year. Find out why AIDS is fast becoming the worst plague in human history.
Ho's group has also engineered exquisitely potent antibodies that neutralize divergent strains of HIV. The most promising neutralizing agent is a bispecific monoclonal antibody that entered a first-in-human clinical trial in 2019 with the support of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. So in 2019, he was doing clinical trials with support from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation on monoclonal antibodies for HIV. It's kind of odd that also in 2019, Fauci attended a talk at the Milken Institute about the universal flu vaccine, where Rick Bright, director of HHS Biomedical Advanced Research and Development Authority, talked about putting mRNA inside monoclonal antibodies.
When you think about synthetic-based vaccines, we're also driving synthetic-based monoclonal antibody production in vivo. So at the same time, you could, or someone could put that vaccine dose, messenger RNA, into a patch or a way to administer to your body. They can also deliver the same or messenger RNA sequence for monoclonal antibody.
And then come 2020, David Ho starts working on monoclonal antibodies for COVID.
So we reported last week in Nature our discovery of a collection of monoclonal antibodies that are directed to COVID-19 and specifically binding to the spike on the outside of the virus. The antibodies are generally just given as an infusion of over 10-15 minutes intravenously.
Is it clear that the monoclonal antibodies are safe?
Well, these two that have been administered now to a number of people, they don't seem to have any side effects. And in general, monoclonal antibody therapies for cancer, inflammation, and other diseases have been quite safe.
Now, labs, including David Ho's, are searching thousands of natural antibodies from patients to find lethal combinations against the virus.
Part of the problem in the U.S. is the public here has a huge sense of freedom, but often they forget that freedom comes with a set of responsibilities.
That's true.
And when it comes to public health, that set of responsibility is very, very important.
That model actually formed the basis for Bill Gates' foundation.
Fucking stoned.